I remember when I was in my friend's room, his stepsister ends up walking up to the door and she ends up basically telling me to like follow her, but I'm right beside my friend that's literally right beside me, and I look at her basically signaling no, like it's a bad idea. But right when my friend looks at me and he says, yo, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick, I'll be back after a bit. I remember he ended up leaving, and that's when this girl came into his bedroom saying, Bubba, we don't have much time, here, follow me. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba and welcome back to another insane, but I gotta say crazy story. Now today's story all takes place back in high school, and this was my grade 12 year. Now in grade 12, I was a really basic guy, not knowing what I wanted to do with the future, and to be honest, I had really no idea what was going on in my life. Like if someone could go back in time and tell me back in grade 12 that I was gonna become a creator online that tells crazy stories, I wouldn't believe them whatsoever. But basically, there was one time in my grade 12 year where I remember I had this one buddy of mine that I was really good friends with. Now he has some personal family stuff going on in his life that, I'm not gonna lie, wasn't the greatest. He had a lot of things going on, and well, from having divorced parents to end up getting a step sibling and all this crazy stuff, he was the type of person that always tried to stay motivated. From watching Andrew Tate to basically pushing himself to listen to motivational speeches and reading motivational books, he was the type of guy that you would want to hang around to basically think about your future. But obviously, every time I hung out around him, he always made me think about my future. And to be honest, if you guys recognize who I'm talking about, you guys probably understand the story that I told, I think it was a couple days ago. So this story is about the same people. So if you guys haven't seen that story, I advise you guys go watch it so it gives a better sense of what I was talking about. But going on with this story, I remember I was in the school hallway walking with him. And as I was walking with him, I remember he ends up running up to me, and he runs up to me in the most weirdest way because he looks at me and says, yo, Bubba, I have a question, bro. Do you think I'm like uptight? What do you mean uptight? Well, like, you know, like not fun. No, I think you're fun. Like, why wouldn't you be? Well, like, I don't know, man. Like this one girl, like I was talking to her and like she says like I'm really like obtuse and like boring, and like I don't know why. Like I don't know what's wrong with girls nowadays. Which to be fair, like he was a little uptight, but I was trying to be his friend. I didn't want to say that. But at the same time, since he was pressing me on and on about it, it got to the point where I looked at him and said, okay, listen, dude, I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, maybe the motivational stuff maybe needs to be toned down a bit. Like you're a bit overdoing it. Yeah, but like, don't like girls like guys that are like, you know, the man and like over the top? Yeah, only in the movies. To be honest, girls our age don't really care about that kind of stuff. At that moment, I remember he ended up looking at me. He's like, bro, Bubba, can you like teach me like how to pull girls, bro? Wait, what? Like, come on, think about it, man. Like, I'm about to go to college, and like, I really don't have any sense of like how to pull girls, I guess, anymore. I remember I ended up shaking my head yes, and basically that day after school, we ended up planning on teaching him how to get girls. It sounded really cringe and really weird, and to be fair, like this wasn't the first time I taught someone how to pull girls, but I ended up agreeing anyways. And after school that day, I ended up basically driving over to his place. When I drove over there, I remember I parked my car in his driveway, and instantly one thing I noticed was out the window, I ended up seeing a girl that was his stepsister looking down on us through the window. Now I thought this was really weird, and I remember I decided to just ignore it and not tell my friend anything about it. But let's just say when we got inside, one thing we instantly noticed was that his sister, or his stepsister I should say, was literally in the living room wearing booty shorts and looks at me and my friend and says, hey boys, what are you guys up to? Oh, leave us alone, bro. We're just going upstairs and like doing some stuff. And I remember I just ended up looking at her and just waving hi, and me and my friend, we ended up just going upstairs. When me and him were going up the stairs, I remember the girl ended up following us, his stepsister. My friend got super annoyed to the point where when we finally walked inside his room, he ended up slamming the door on his stepsister saying, bro, stop following us. This has nothing to do with you. Okay, well, I guess I'll talk to you later, Bubba. And she ends up going back into her room. And that's when my friend looks at me and says, okay, Bubba, I need you to tell me like, what's the best way to like walk up to a girl? At that moment, I ended up teaching him some of my methods that I would do to like approach women and stuff. And to be fair, I made a video on this as well way back when. So if you guys do want to watch that, just search it up on the channel. But I ended up basically telling him like the most basic things that I would do when it comes to pulling chicks. And he's actually got to the point where he started writing down these things, and it was actually really funny. But then after a while, I want to say like after like 30 minutes of me teaching him some stuff, he ended up asking questions that I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't comfortable answering. Like he was asking me questions like, oh, so like when I want to do like the Juvels tango with her, like how do I start it off? And at that moment, I didn't know what to say. So I was like, honestly, bro, like it's kind of like in the moment, like you don't really think about it. It kind of just happens, if I'm being honest with you. What? That makes no sense. Like there has to be some kind of like science behind it. I don't know why, but this guy like really like tried to make it all numbers and factual evidence, when in reality, doing the Juvels tango and pulling chicks is all based on feelings. And if your feelings don't end up working out with the other girl, then GG's, like you're not pulling the girl whatsoever. Anyways, as me and him were talking more and more on, I guess, things about the Juvels tango and how to get it, I remember his stepsister ends up coming towards the room and opening the door slowly. And that's when she says, oh, are you guys talking about doing it? Oh my goodness, You guys are so weird. You guys are like gay or something. And at that moment, I remember my friend ended up walking up to the door, opening the door wide open and yelling at her saying, you don't know what you're talking about. You have no idea what's going on in here. Like, why are you even here? Like, just leave us alone. Like, you're not even actually like a real person. And he ends up slamming the door on her once again. No, I actually felt bad at this point for the girl. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, she just wanted to be part of the conversation, but like, it was whatever. Anyways, from there, I remember me and him started discussing more about it, and he was writing more things down. And I remember it got to the point where like my friend's mom ended up coming home, and my friend's mom ends up opening the door, and my friend was already so triggered from the last times his stepsister walked in that he looks over at the door and says, get out of here, I said. And oh, hey mom, sorry, I didn't know it was you. Oh, hey honey, what's going on here? Hi Bubba, I didn't expect you to be here today. Hi. Yeah, I was invited over. My bad. I probably should have told you before, or my parents should have called you before. Oh no, it's totally okay. You're always welcome. Okay, well, leave the door open, please, and I'm gonna head downstairs, okay? Okay, mom. I remember his mom ends up going downstairs, and the door was left wide open. And me and him, we started to discuss, like, I guess, other ways to pull girls and funny ways that, you know, a dynamic duo could pull girls. And as I started to explain the game Have You Met Ted, I remember his stepsister ends up basically walking across the hallway and saw me in there still, and she looks back and says, come here, come here. And that's when I kept signaling her, saying like, no, like, I'm literally right beside your brother right now, or stepbrother, I should say. Like, I'm not coming near you. And then as like my friend continued ranting, it got to the point where he's like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. And I remember seeing his stepsister running back into her room as fast as possible, and he got up and went to the bathroom. As he went to the bathroom, I remember I was super confused on what was going on, but then his stepsister ends up walking into her brother's room when I was just sitting there, and she looks at me and says, Bubba, let's go. What? No, your brother's literally in the bathroom. He's gonna pop up any moment. Oh, come on, Bubba. He won't notice anything. And that's when she ended up coming closer and closer, and she ended up sitting on my lap, and well, one thing led to another. We ended up actually doing the Devil's Tango. I gotta say, it was definitely one of the fastest times I ever did the Devil's Tango, but it was so weird to the point where I remember I kept panicking the whole time that he was just gonna walk in. But surprisingly, my friend takes the longest poops ever, to the point where he didn't end up coming back like an hour later when everything was done and over with. I gotta say, it was crazy getting away with it, but at the same time, I felt pretty bad, to the point where after that day, I could never, I guess, go back to that house the same way, nor did I ever end up actually going back. And it even got to the point where like his stepsister would DM me on like Instagram and stuff, but I would always ignore it because I don't know, I felt bad. Okay, like I did this guy's sister. I don't know if you guys have ever done a friend's sister or even their mom, comment down below. But if you're not cool like that, then fall for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.